Okay. I think we were on the pay data integration. We discussed the flow, how it is getting the payroll file, validating the payroll file, getting the file name, the collection name, then retrieving the internal document, like the payroll document, that means the content of the file, getting its header, and then processing each of the employees one by one, transforming it through an XSLT to get the earnings and deduction codes as their amounts, then collating it, transforming, putting header onto it and transforming it into a CSV file. For your purpose, I think just to show you have taken a one. I have taken integration, payroll integration file that I'll be using to run this integration. So that would be pay date free file attachment as a repository document, opening document file. So as soon as I attach a document, since it requires a repository document as a launch parameter, now let's see how it processes. Okay, so for your reference, I uploaded this file. Let me open it with the Internet Explorer. I uploaded this file. So this file has payroll extract as the main header, then pay group, and then header 21. Then detail of the pay group, pay company, pay group name, period, start date, like for which period. So I ran it for the current period. It ran for 1st of March to 31st of March. Updated from the last time this integration run was run on 28th of February, and updated to was current date, the date I ran this integration on. All effective is true. Document retention policy is 180. And then after header, we had all the employee information coming in. So for each employee, we had a summary section, we had a portfolio data section, then we had a position data section, and then it's a compensation data section. Inside compensation data section, you will have this, I would say, again, summary name, USD, format analyze, API, for the earnings and deductions are not on this file. Let's see how the output came out to be. So you see, we inserted the output as a file name, that is p1 Japan underscore pg.xml. Sorry, and the output that came to us was pg1.csv. So if I'll open this file, the csv, not bad. So we got only the header, because see why this is happening and why we are not getting the other data. So let's go to the XSLT where we are formatting it. So for each employee, I think it is looking for variable name as employee ID, and then looking for pay data ID, have pay data ID. Employee ID, but we do not have pay data ID, but we have employee. Okay. So if ID is not there, what they are getting is PI summary / employee ID. But even before that, how they are getting into each of these subsections is payroll extract employees, pay group, PI employee. In our file, it is payroll extract employees, PI pay group, and then PI employee. So going forward, the employee ID and it is stored on payment. Okay. So the thing is, what they're trying to get is PI pay data. For each of the pay data, like wherever there is a earnings and deduction code being set up, then in those cases, they want it to be there. Our section did not have any PI pay data. So that's the pay data. Now, let us see if we can have that open, or at least write that configuration somewhere. I think I use this integration to get that. Which section? I think through learning and deduction section I have to configure in art project and central total taxable signing bonus. These codes are there, but none of the values are. That's why no all payroll type. Let me compensation as let me open a reporting piece for the pay compensation. Okay. I'm using here. This is over things and few more code alarm. But each one, I think, code is okay. Yeah. So that's done, and if I'll go back again, visit some employees, let me take a senior consultant level guy and see what his compensation agreement. So, and the merit salaried. The merit salaried is something plan type not using, so that's fine. Internet award campaign. Annual merit always. Okay. Okay, guys. So you can probably ignore this because I was just trying to get a relevant payroll file for you to run into your integration. Okay, so this is just the initial setup to get the, because they have not configured the whole system properly. That's why we were not getting the file where we might have needed all the data. So I tried configuring few things. I'll run the integration now again. This one I ran. Yeah, this is 14, 15 employees. So it should run quickly. This we got the payroll file. Let me see. Compensation. Yeah, earnings and deduction codes we are getting. And that is summary data, compensation summary. We have compensation data. Okay. So we might need to tweak. Okay. So as per their XSLT, maybe this is an older one. So what they are looking for is PI pay data. For each of the pay data, they are checking if is it earning or deduction. If it is DPS, earning or deduction is E or so we have this value, but this is not inside PI pay data. It is inside payroll earnings and deductions, PI earnings and deductions, or PI earnings underscore deductions. Okay. For volume reduction, then we have the while to one thing or like underscore deduction. Can you tell me why we are changing this particular tag in our XSLT? Deductions. Code PA mode, PA code. Okay. So we are changing this because we want to get to the parent element to get all these values, PI code, earning or deduction. But what they have configured in their XSLT is to look inside PI data, which is not an element present on XML that is coming from the sample output we are trying to feed into this integration, but we rather have this PI earnings underscore deduction where this information is available. So earnings underscore deduction. So what I'll do is save this and try to deploy it now on Workday ZTL tenant file pay data. Finish. I agree. So now we go to pay data integration. We launch it and now I attach the file to the integration event by creating a supporting document. This is migrate PI pay data to with it. So if you see information now, what we are getting is we are getting the headers company, pay group, employee ID, then code. So the code you see allowance 001 4500 basic salary. Let me show you the XML we are feeding to it. So the employee 21122 under earnings and deductions we have multiple earnings and deduction tags. So the first one is ALW001. But ALW001 is a code that we mapped on the table I was just configuring. It is actually an allowance for this employee. So the allowance code is this 001 and the amount is 45,000. Similarly, basic sal is the code, but it is the salary or the monthly salary of an employee or the annual salary of an employee. So since we are getting it in annual frequency, it is an annual salary and this is the amount. And let's go back to our output file. You see 2112 ALD001 as 45,000 amount, 21122 basic salary as 12141,942 as the amount. And then similarly for the other employees, we have that and the basic salary being printed on our output file. We did not have any input file, so we are not getting the, I would say, the values for that as well. And one of the things is we are not getting the company as well as the pay group details. So let's see. And try to troubleshoot why we are not getting that. I'll click on this, go to its properties, I'll open the XSLT. So how we are the pay group data, is it from the header to the company ID is employee ID is this, okay, earnings, deductions, company ID, we are doing it on the integration on the prop. So that's why to get a company ID inputs header, PI header, payroll company. So what we are doing is getting the input header. So that is payroll extract employees group, PI header, PI pay group, PI header, PI recruit employees, recruit employees, PI pay group, PI header. But still we are not getting header for payroll company. ID payroll company. Okay, we are not getting it because on our output files there is nothing as payroll company ID. Rather, we have payroll company name and pay group name. What we are going to do is replace this again. The pay name, like the payroll company underscore name, payroll company underscore name, pay underscore group underscore name, pay underscore name. I will save again, go here. I will deploy it to Workday. So you will have to, this is how you develop your integration as per the input message you are getting for inbound integration. So since you cannot change the input file, which is being generated maybe from a third party vendor or from an integration within Workday, you cannot generate, like manipulate it or change it. So you'll have to make changes to your code rather than do is integration event integration. We use the file we use. Okay. So now you see the payroll company as well as pay group names also being printed on the file. So we have the external pay entity as Asia Pacific, that is the company, and then the pay group is WCC third party Japan, employees this, allowance is this, earning code is this. So we are getting it in the earning code column. Earning code amount is this, and then not applicable to us because it's not available. Okay. Any questions regarding this? The things we have covered. Are you able to follow from the assembly logic or the flow we discussed yesterday and how the output is coming? Like how we are seeing it in real time, what's happening. Okay, I'll take that as a no. I think you got everything. Let me check if we have anything. We have any instructions on the file. It's just earnings because deductions we did not. So yeah, that's about it for our use case that we saw for payroll interface. So what we were doing is like launching the integration with the launch parameter to create a repository document, get some initial variable to save the document reference into a prop, validate if the file is empty or not, and then set document parameter. So basically what we are trying to get is output file name. We are trying to derive the output file name so that we can use this while creating the document reference at the end of the processing. So we are getting the input file name and then manipulating if it has a dot or not. If not, we are taking the name as is. Otherwise, we are taking the main name before the dot XML and putting a dot CSV at the end instead of the XML. Here we are just retrieving the file, the actual file, not the file name or the properties of the file. We are extracting the actual data on the file. So this will help us flow the content of the file, which is the XML, this particular data, into our integration message flow. Then here we are copying the header. So we are just taking a part of the input message that is still header and we are copying it into a variable. So what we are doing is like copying this part, this particular part into the variable input.header. And on the next eval, we are calling that header and getting to the extra path of getting the payroll company name and pay group name. Earlier it was ID, so that's why it was not coming because our input file did not had anything called as payroll company ID or pay group ID. Okay. And then we are going back to the whole message, not just the header now. This entire message is going again to the assembly flow where we are splitting on the basis of payroll extract employees, pay group, and PI employees. So This is payroll company extract, pay group, and we are doing till here. So all these nodes are repeating. These employees now getting repeated and splitted. And based upon the transformation, this transformation, what we are getting is we already have the pay company ID or pay group ID, which is the name, onto a prop. So we are calling those props in here. We are getting the employee ID. Since this does not exist for us, pay data, we are getting the employee ID from here, summary employee ID. So for every employee, there is a summary section, and under the summary section, we have the employee ID. So it is printing this particular value for each of the employee. Okay. And then going back to the XSLT, why is it not going back? So we are storing this into a variable now for each of the earnings and deduction tags. We are entering inside payments on our output. So for each employee, we have so many sections. We have personal, position, compensation, but we are not really bothered about it. Compensation summary data section. All we care about is these earnings and deduction codes. So these ones, as soon as we are getting these codes, what we are trying to do is like enter inside it. Then we are trying to check this particular field, earning or deduction is E or D. We are checking XSD Boolean earning is E. Then we are printing the earning amounts. If it would have been D, then we are printing the deduction amount.
One question in the XSLT, when we access the file, should we traverse in a specific order? Meaning, if we go to the XML, say first if I access the earnings underscore deduction section, and then can I access the personal data all the way top?
You can, unless until you are like say firstly going into the variable.
Has to be specific.
Yes.
Okay.
So the thing is, like, if you're storing it in a variable, that's fine because you are still inside a particular tag. But if you want to say that you directly want to print it, right? First, you get inside this, and the next line you want to print is the employee ID. Then you cannot do that. You'll have to get outside of this child node and get into the parent node. So I think, yeah, and once you go back, then only you can traverse it because unless until you are inside this child node, you say you are inside this. Now it will not look for anything outside of this. It will look for all the XPaths within this. So if I something like this here, where did I go? Okay, yeah, earnings and deductions, right? So for each earnings and deduction, I'm trying to get. Now if I want to traverse back to employee ID, I can, like what we are doing is I'm getting the employee ID from the variable, right? But say if I want to write the XPath to get the employee ID, say employee slash summary slash employee ID, I cannot do that because I'm already inside the earnings and deductions, which is the child element. So I'll have to go back and then, so rather what we do is like start from the top. If we want certain information to be printed after a particular point, what we do is like store it into a variable.
And use it.
Okay, so yeah, that's it. So that's how we are printing the earnings and deductions, codes and amounts, and deductions to be specific. We did not add any on the input file, so it's not getting printed. Otherwise, what it would have been is like this. This value would have repeated. Okay, Control C, because on one line it is printing one element. So it would have been, say, this would have been blank, earnings would have been blank, earning code, and then this would be, say, time off had been a deduction, and it would have been 100. Okay, so it would have been like this, like earnings would have been blank then, and then time deductions would have been printed. So that's about it for this use case. And that brings us to the end of all the topics we have. I think one of the topics that was mentioned to me was matrix reporting. Let me see if I have any matrix report in here for showing greater than and business plan, and this drill down to specific fields for age group, location, sending, detail data, photo worker, field supervisory organization. They're putting from organizing. Only organization is required. Include subordinate organization is the checkbox. Okay, let me first try to run this report, show you the output. Because this is mostly for what the reporting purposes, where you want to provide a graphical representation of data, because this data you cannot use inside integrations. That's why. So this is what we have in matrix reporting. So there would be a baseline report for that, and there would be certain kind of, I would say, fields which the columns would be grouped upon, and you will have a representation like this. You have the limited, medium, high potential. I think 1 second. Let me open this definition as okay. So the potential completed rating, that is a, I think this is a cal field or a delivered field or workday delivered. Okay. So this is a potential of an employee only returns the value of employee, as contingent worker do not have a potential track. Okay. So this is a standard delivered field on employee, and this shows the potential rating of an employee. So this is used for, I believe, for talent evaluation, performance evaluation, this particular report. So what they are doing is like grouping this. So the initial data, if I'll show you for custom reports of matrix type, the task could be same, create a custom report. The only thing is you'll have to, okay, no, this is in particular not matrix, but nbox. Nbox and matrix are similar, but yes, before things nbox report. Okay, so this is nbox. Matrix is also same, like, but nbox has more values like photos and things which can turn now around on a more graphical manner. View support new high talent matrix performance attention RPT matrix is it really okay. This is a matrix report. Row grouping, listening. No, they have not created it. What I'm calling them. This worker, job profile, supervisory organization, big data technology, trend, learning completion. Okay. Now let me go see the structure. Oh, that's fine. View custom report, mat. I think the name is so talent matrix potential. The name is learning complete status. I think they cannot share with all authorized users. Okay. Okay. So now you see this is a matrix type report, and on the first section of is the row grouping. Similarly to what I initially showed you was an nbox, but the nbox has another feature that you can use a particular field to come up as the, I would say, the face of the values. Like we were using photo of the employee in that case. So the row grouping would be can be any field like a worker, learner, job profile, and worker supervisory organization in this case. So what they would be aligned is as like columns on the left, and then there would be other values which will be represented in terms of a matrix for these people. So this is the worker name or the worker object, I would say rather. This is the job profile and this is the supervisory organization of the worker, which are all related to the worker business object. Okay. So we are getting all these details in here, and then what we are doing, grouping this on the basis of learning content detail. Okay. So learning content detail is this particular field, which is a single. Okay. So this is a workday delivered, and this does is like the details of the learning content on the, like we have LMS for different organizations. Similarly, we have certain kind of data in Workday. Okay. So this is the main grouping field. So you'll have to provide a grouping field, and you have to provide a definition that we are trying to get an average. Summarization type is average. And what is the summarization field? A particular field on which the summary needs to be done, because it's a matrix reporting. It needs to have a summary like a column and matrix in front of it. So status is in progress, then 1, status is completed is equal to 2, and default value is 0. Okay, and now if I'll go to drill down, so drill down will have all what we call default field for this field that can be summarized on. It will have all the default field. or maybe you can specify these fields as well. Okay. Then if we have any filters, now the filters and prompts will be similar to what we have in our custom reports, or sorry, standard or advanced reports. These would be based upon the learning and enrollment flag. And this is again Workday delivered field, and this is on the learning enrollment business object. Content provider is also on the learning enrollment business object. And you can filter out on basically on equal to, it is what is saying is latest enrollment equal to true. If this is the latest enrollment, only those are getting captured. And then this is the content provider. If the content provider is internal, so we are reporting on only the latest enrollments as well as the internal content only. If there is any kind of information that is fed into Workday for any kind of learning from outside sources, say LinkedIn or anything, we are not considering that. Okay, so all this data would be inside. The matrix report is just a way of representing data. So anything you have on the left would be under the group column. Okay, this would be under the group column or row grouping. Worker, if I'll add anything in here, say supervisory organization was one. If file, what all relevant information, maybe manager, if I want to inform the manager of the employee about who will be managers, workers manager, right? No, that's a manager. This is again a global field, and workers manager is the worker level. There is no business object is learning enrollment, so that's fine. Okay, yeah. Okay, so you see the data source is the learning enrollment, and the primary object is also the learning enrollment. And I think all these would be either related to learning enrollment. It is derived from the related business object as worker, but getting onto learning widget. So this is basically what you have on a standard or advanced report, right? You have these columns, and by default, it will pull up all the values which are available on the primary business object or PBO of that report you are trying to use. So data source would be selected. So since we are using learning enrollments as the data source, it will give you all the information on the learning or the courses. Okay, and then this worker, learner, job profile, and manager, workers manager as of now I'm pulling, and then we have this average. We want to calculate the completion status. So we are getting the average of this, and then we have column grouping optional as learning content detail. Okay, so the learning content detail will have these values. So that's what it is trying to give you. Learning content detail, and here column grouping core. Learning content detail core second. Then this is column grouping, which is an optional field, and then we have to define the fields. On the drill down, you can use the default values, options. So if I'll save this and try to refresh this page to run the integration, to run the report, now I think we'll pull up the manager on the left hand pane as well. So you see, you are getting the managers in here, and all the learning content details are being populated here, having like the green or the red about the completion status. And this is the end value, like if the completion status value like green, or say this is red because none of the completion status like courses have been completed. So that's how we are calculating it. Okay, so basically what you have to do for a matrix report is anything detail you want to pull for the primary business object of the data source you're selecting, you'll have to pull it on the group row grouping, and then all the details about the course, like say in our case about the course details. Say you want to send some details or see some matrix reporting on the compensation, and you want to see details on each of the compensation elements, and the average would be the compensation values, the amount values, dollar amount. So that can also be done. So what you will be doing is like, and here the average, this particular summarization field would, instead of the completion status, would become the amount, compensation amount, and the column grouping optional would be compensation element. For each of the compensation elements, the details will be grouped, and then the amount would be summarized. And you can have this average, maximum, and other different values because you go in here, edit. Okay, so this summarization type would have count, distinct, maximum, minimum, percentage, sum. So all these values you can do matrix reporting on. So this is one of the key things that you can do. Like currently we are doing an average of the completion status, but you can also do a calculation, the count. You can do the maximum, like say you want to get the maximum dollar amount for each of the compensation elements of the worker. So that would also be possible. It's just for reporting purposes to say, and for say business operations kind of scenarios. This is not for integrations reporting or anything. Just to give them a visual feel of the data. Because if they don't want to drill down into the details and they want a graphical representation, then we used. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Any further questions?
This matrix, we cannot enable any services or like that, right?
No. Because this is also using what like the fields and things. But it's just like whatever it is doing, you can pull out on a report as like a standard or a advanced report as well, and you can represent it in a simple XML data format. This you cannot because this is for, I would say, representation purposes, right? Like the left is aligned in a manner and the right is aligned in a manner. In XML, you do not have that. You have like different parent-child relationships. And all this processing, what you can do is like just get all these fields inside your standard report or advanced report. And on the XSLT, you can do this summarization and all those things if you want to calculate it into a integration data.
Okay.
For integration purposes, it's only the advanced report. And I think one of the key things I did with Prabhu earlier, I believe that many of you were not there. So he asked me like about to focus on integration examination. So I will give you the topics, main topics. So one would be, so first would be the exam pattern. I think they are changing it, but if they do not change it to much of an extent, it would be mostly like this. 20% would be an MCQ. Okay. So that would be based upon theoretical knowledge and things you have. Topic, theory. Okay. So we can also have, I would say, not just theory. This can also have snippets of XSLT, and they can ask you to choose the right answer. That what if you want to select this X path, what we do. If you want to do this operation, what we do, what should be the command, and 80% would be your hands-on, okay, out of which major part would be on CCW plus, okay, and then I think that's about, because in the exam there's only one, they do not ask you anything. CCW with DT, and CCW would be like, say CCW would be mostly around, say, get the gender, marital status, legal name. With legal name, I mean first name, last name, legal name, contact information, dependent, and what they will be doing is like ask you to set up this, do certain changes to these employees, like do a change for gender change for one employee on one day, do a marital status change with effective on one day, do some legal name changes like the first name, last name changes. And for each of the instances, you will have to run your core connector, and these changes should be captured because we will be running on a changes only mode, and these changes will be captured for your output files. And that's it. I think DT would be one-time job, and it would be a very simple one that we saw mostly around having a CSV in the output file. And I would say, yes, I think DT would be XML to CSV only, and that would help you get these values onto a text file, basically. And in terms of other topics, I would say main topic, I think, and then there is inside this 80%, certain portion of it is into your hands-on or the final examination. Some 10 or 15% is in the basis of your class behavior. from the trainer as well, like how responsive you were in the class, how much attention you were paying, any of the quizzes or questions he asked, how much attention or participation you are doing in that. And for the main topics, I think again it will start from the way we started custom reports, and this will take a lot of time since this is in-depth custom and the major focus would be on the advanced report, field.
So these integrations, will there be any, should we create any new integration or it will be only change only?
No,
when I say
you
change
have to
only
create the CCW from scratch.
from
And this
scratch.
CCW, I think one of the key things I will also mention is will have a eligibility criteria and eligibility criteria as well as what would be the other one, that is transaction log service, like the particular type of transaction you want to transaction log service. So these would be key things. So they will tell you a particular criteria that only people from say India where their payroll company or their primary location is India, that to be reported. Say their pay group is UK, that to be reported. It can be anything, but that will be majorly focusing on eligibility criteria. And I'm writing these topics so that you can just go back to the videos and see these sections where we have done these jobs. We have done each of these topics. Okay, and then maybe they will ask you to report only on hires, on terminations, or any kind of edit jobs that are happening, changes that are happening. Okay, but on the main topics in terms of the things, maybe few would be custom reports, that would be advanced reports, cal fields. Then
And what about EIB?
yeah. I'm coming to it. XSLT. I think on the hands-on, it won't be needed.
Okay.
Yeah. Then there would be questions on EIB or MCQ. On hands-on, it could be just a CCW plus GT. There would be a 2-day window that would be given to you. It's not like you have to do it on the call. So that examination would have I would say, a sample test cases or sample values also that you need to enter. Say it will say create a employee with exam1 underscore user1, or maybe that particular username. Say it will say change the name of Aryan to this. So it will have a standard kind of format for everyone, and all you have to do is make those changes, do your CCW setup, make those changes on the result file. You will have to paste your integration event URL. And with integration event URL, I mean, one second. Okay. So this one, go in here, integration, and either it will ask you for the overall process URL or for the integration. So if it is the integration event URL, you make sure you click on this. So this is the kind of page that will appear. You copy the link and paste it on the Excel sheet. If they want the overall process URL, you go to the parent event, you go to the overall process. Okay, so this is the overall, and now you give this link to them. Okay, so EIB would be the main topic: custom report, path, XSLT, EIBs, and again, CCW, DT, integration business cost, integration BP would be. Yeah, I think these would be the basic things, or the main things I would say.